Hi, my name is Wade Votorubek, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the five values for Quaker that I think applies most to my life and my leadership styles. So the one that I'm picking today is peace. I think peace is very necessary thing for leaders. I think that we need peace in order to be able to run a tight ship and a tight schedule. I think that keeping peace between all different levels of the program, for example, like for basketball, I'm a student assistant basketball coach, and I think that keeping peace is something that helps us remain is something that helps us to keep one goal throughout the entire season, and that is to potentially win a national championship. Because if we don't have peace between players, between coaches, then that's something that's going to derail the team, so to speak. It's going to get us away from our goal rather than help us move forward to it. So there were three questions that we were asked. We were asked why the value was chosen. I think the reason why I chose this value is because I am I try and promote peace. I try and get people like get along on my team. I try and get them to be brothers in some specific ways. Um, I'm not very controversial. I mean, I don't do well in conflict, but I try and diffuse it when it comes along. If two players on my team are arguing, then I try and get them to be peaceful. I try and get them to get along. I don't care if I have to make them hug in the middle of practice in order for them to get over their attitudes and their beef that they have between them. Um, so yeah, another question we were asked to talk about was how the student sees this value fitting in their own life. Just as I kind of said, I use it the most because it applies to my coaching style. I'm very family oriented. I want to make everybody feel at home on my team. I don't want them to have any doubt. I don't want them to want to transfer at the end of the season. I don't want any of that. I want them to be peace. I want there to be that relationship between player and coach, between teammate and teammate, and then in the classroom too. It can even go that far. I want them to be able to have a good relationship and have peace with their teacher and not cause any problems, or in the community. I don't want to have a player on my team who's constantly getting arrested for something, you know. So yeah, the next observation or the next question was observations made while intentionally living out this value in their life. At first when you're trying to get somebody to settle something that's like in an argument, it's hard. It can be very challenging and very difficult because if one player and another player start talking smack to each other, they don't want anything to do with each other. It's very difficult to get them to calm down and then in order to even shake hands. I mean, I've had to have that happen on many occasions, and there was one occasion that the beef was ridiculous. I mean, it wasn't necessary. It was something completely out there that didn't need to be brought to our practice. And so I made them literally hug, make up, shake hands, and then we went about our day. I mean, it's not that hard to leave your attitude and leave your problems at the door and then come here, and this can be a sanctuary for you to focus and you to be able to reach your goals that you want to reach. And having peace, I think, helps do that for players and students alike. So then I marked some other key points that I wanted to talk about as well. You need to keep peace between players. Like I said, I've given you many examples already as to what I do with players that have conflict between them. I don't really allow it to fly on my basketball team. I think it's unnecessary. I mean, you're supposed to be teammates. You're supposed to strive for one goal together, and that's to have a winning season. Um, the next one is keeping peace between teammates. It's kind of the same thing, but that's more from players. When I said players previously, I meant from my perspective of when I was playing basketball. I tried to keep peace between teammates. If I saw two people arguing and they were about ready to fight, I would break it up and then have them go cool down. I mean, I would have help with that. The coaches would handle it from there. But then when I say teammates, I'm talking about from my point of view, from a coach's perspective. And like I said, I've given many examples of that already. Peace between coaches and players. If you're a coach, you can't be degrading towards your players. You can't. I mean, you can kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. You can kind of joke with your player. I mean, you can give each other crap back and forth, and I think that's acceptable to a point. But you don't want to overstep your boundaries and cross that line and then cause a problem between a coach and a player. Either if it's a player crossing the line or a coach crossing the line. I think that there is a line of professionalism that needs to be kept, and I think that that helps the team have success. I think it builds respect between player and coach, and I think it is something that is very necessary for the game of basketball. So the next point that I want to talk about was peace between player and teacher. I think that this allows kids to succeed. I mean, if you're a student who gets their work done in on a timely manner, I mean, you never have a late assignment, you always show up to class, that's going to keep peace with your teacher. And then if you struggle with something later, it's going to allow them to help you and take time out of their day in order to help you succeed in the classroom. If you don't do that, then there's not peace because the teacher won't respect you. They think that you're lazy. There are plenty of teachers that I think feel that way. I mean, if you're not turning in assignments, if you're forgetting to turn in assignments, if you're showing up to class late, or if you're sleeping all day every day in the class, they're not going to want to help you succeed at the last minute for finals if you want to turn in a few late assignments to bump your grade up. As to if you do turn your assignments in, you show up to class on time, you stay awake and pay attention, then if you want to turn in a couple late assignments, then they'll let you. I mean, it's common sense. I mean, it's a respect level. I mean, if you do the things that you need to do and get done, then you'll pass the class. The next one was peace between teams. In our basketball program, we have 3 teams. We can't have one team talking crap to another team, even if we play each other or not, or even if it's in a scrimmage, because we're one big program. You never know at some point in time if somebody from our varsity reserve team is going to be bumped up to our varsity team, and then there's that bad blood that's created between them. It's not necessary. I mean, we should be a family, a brotherhood. It's common sense again. I think that if you cause problems in the system, then you're the bug of the system that needs to be let go, that needs to be erased. So I mean, if you're causing problems consistently in a system in our basketball program, then there's a good chance that we're going to let you go because you're not worth the time. Yeah, and then also between teams. I mean, on campus, keeping peace between the football team, basketball team, bowling team, golf team. It's pretty simple. I mean, you're one school. I mean, you don't need to beef with other teams at school. I mean, let that go. Again, leave all your problems at the door. Check your attitude when you go somewhere, and just live life. Be happy. You know. The last one was peace with community. I think that this is something that's really key for our school. We do community events all the time. I mean, we host golfing tournaments. We host fundraisers. We walk in the parade every year for the high school homecoming and for our homecoming too. I mean, it's what am I trying to say? Is you got to give back to the community. You have to have peace with the community. You don't want to you don't want to be the only team that doesn't show up to the parade. I mean, that's kind of a smack in the face, and then I mean, you won't have anybody show up for your games. You won't have any fans as a response because everybody's going to think you're whack or you're disrespectful to the community or you don't care. And I think that's something that really needs to change because I think that there are teams that need to be more involved in the community and do a little bit more in order to give back for all of the support and the respect that they receive. So yeah, that's my opinion on peace, and I think that peace is very necessary. Again, I think that it helps the world go around. I mean, if we could have more peace, our relationships with other countries would be way better than what they are now. Let alone having peace in our own government system. I mean, I'm not the biggest Donald Trump supporter. I'm not at all. I don't really get into politics. But if we have peace with our president, then I mean, it can only improve our entire country. I mean, yeah. So I'm a big peace guy. I think that is very necessary in order to run a tight ship. And whatever you're doing, from work to recreational sports to professional sports, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's my opinion on peace.